Yes.
Joy tried to kiss me.
What?
And I didn't tell anyone because I'm not really sure how I feel about it.
That is not true. Redact it. Redact it!
Well, I'm not actually making a formal complaint. I just really think we should talk about it.
Hi, I'm Maddie.
I'm Kendall.
And today we're going to be discussing sexual harassment in the workplace.
So for our thesis statement, it is bringing light to sexual harassment in the workplace is a topic that too frequently gets ignored and needs, in turn, to be more emphasized. So how frequent is sexual harassment in the workplace? If you guys want to think about these questions a little bit and write down your answers, and we'll be going over the correct answers at the end. So what percentage of women have been sexually harassed at work? What percentage reported the incident? What percent believed to have not been sexually harassed but actually had been? So in a study conducted in 2015, 2,235 full-time and part-time employees, female employees, were given surveys to test their exposure to sexual harassment. 1 in 3 women between the ages of 18 and 34 had actually been sexually harassed at work, and out of the women who said they experienced workplace sexual harassment, 29% reported the issue, while 71% did not. 16% of the women said no when asked if they had been sexually harassed at work, but said yes to experiencing sexual, explicit, or sexist remarks. So for an overview, first we'll be discussing what exactly sexual harassment is and the guidelines of how it can be met. Next, we'll be giving a background of sexual harassment by reviewing some sexual harassment cases and their outcomes. And then we're going to end with doing a discussion of different ways to help prevent and handle sexual harassment in the workplace, as well as conclude with an interactive game in order to emphasize why this is a growing demand for sexual harassment explanations and why it's an important topic that often goes undiscussed.
So kind of to begin with, we're going to start with the basic definition of what sexual harassment is. So sexual harassment, typically it's usually of a woman in a workplace or other professional or social situation involving the making of unwanted sexual advances or obscene remarks. So some basic guidelines for sexual harassment, when they can happen. According to Little and Doucette, there have been 3 different guidelines that tell whether or not sexual harassment has taken place in the workplace. And they are submission to such conduct is explicitly or implicitly, term or condition of an individual's employment, submission to or rejection of such conduct by an individual is used as a basis for employment decisions affecting the individual, or it can be done by such conduct has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual's work performance or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. So now I kind of want you guys to think about what actions do you believe could be sexual harassment, whether that's inappropriate touching or someone brushing your shoulder or something like that. So just take a minute and think about some different ways that someone could be sexually harassed in the workplace. Finally, we're going to go by preventing sexual harassment by some policies. So there are a couple different policies that a workplace could do in order to prevent sexual harassment. The first one could be to create a broad anti-harassment or positive environment policy that specifically addresses sexual harassment. And this would be geared towards pretty much everyone in the entire company rather than like specific individuals or management. However, the second policy that could be created would be a sexual harassment policy that covers all organized members. And then a third and your final option could be to create a sexual harassment policies, one that addresses the non-management employees and then the top management employees, so you can have the differentiation. These 3 options are beneficial for many different reasons, and depending on how large the company or the relationship between management and non-management, one option may be more beneficial than the other. So according to the Employment Equity Act, number 55, which was done in 1988, sexual harassment is very prevalent in the workplace, and this act helps to bring light and shed light on it, so that way people can be more aware and know that it's actually happening. Also, within this act, women are recognized as equal to men in the workplace, but issues of sexual harassment are still lingering on to this day.
So, recent graduates sometimes experience sexual harassment as they look for work after completing tertiary education at universities and colleges. Young people, both men and women, could fall prey to sexual harassers in the workplace. For instance, they could be promised work in exchange for sex. Some of these young job seekers could, as a result, be vulnerable to sexually transmitted diseases and HIV infections. Globally, there are numerous reported cases of young college graduates sexually harassed when they look for employment. Perpetrators could take advantage of the young graduates' desperation to get immediate placement in order to obtain the necessary financial resources to start paying back their student loans. For example, young female scientists are reported to often experience sexual harassment in the field, mostly perpetrated by their supervisors. Sexual harassment is commonly reported in the uniformed forces such as the Army, Police, Air Force, prison services, and the Navy the world over. In the U.S., sexual harassment of young female graduates who join the Navy remains prevalent. Young male recruits are sexually harassed as well. It is reported that military men are more distressed by sexual harassment than military women in the U.S. The male soldiers find it difficult to cope with male feminism in the workplace. In South Africa, both male and female officer cadets sometimes experience sexual harassment at work. Sexual harassment of recent female graduates in South Africa is reported mainly in industries that are traditionally regarded as male-dominated, such as construction and heavy engineering.
So, as you can see, a lot of times when people graduate, they tend to not see the signs of sexual harassment, but they are still always prevalent in there. So this is just some examples towards that. So now we're going to be playing an interactive game dealing with sexual harassment. It's called Kahoot. So if everyone could get out their phones and go to Kahoot, Kahoot.com, we will now be playing the game. So whenever you guys go to Kahoot.com, you'll first come up to their main screen, and it says, do you want to play, enter a PIN. So as you can see, you will enter in the PIN 564185. And then once you enter that PIN, it asks you to type in a nickname. So you can type in your real name or a different name, whatever you feel more comfortable with. So then you'll start the game and you will come up to the first question. This question is a true or false, and it is, only physical acts by one employee against another is sexual harassment. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to think about it. Alright, the next question is, ignoring another employee constitutes a sexual harassment. True or false? Third question, staring at another employee by another is not sexual harassment. True or false? And finally, dirty jokes or jokes with sexual innuendos are not sexual harassment. True or false? Well, I see you guys did good on your quiz, and I hope that you learned a lot about sexual harassment and how to prevent it or avoid it. This video brought light to sexual harassment in the workplace, and that it is a topic that gets too frequently ignored. Remember that there are some guidelines to follow and different ways to prevent sexual harassment. Also, there are some different policies you can follow as well. Remember, sexual harassment is no joke, and it is always better to be safe than sorry.